I just, of course, like millions and millions out there, maybe trillions, love Paul McCartney. So
Yeah, that's true. That is
awesome. But
true.
I do a quick look at the screen. It's like I really feel like I have the real thing here. It almost people say, "Oh my God, this freaks me out."
It's funny because I moved to Cicero recently, and I've got one of those U boxes. Oh, they call it a U box or a U cube or something.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing where you load all your stuff in it. The guy brought it to me from Tucson, Arizona, where I'm from. And he pulls up in the front and he goes, "Where would you like me to put the U box?" And I was telling him, "Well, I'd like you to pull around the back and maybe in front of the garage, whatever." And he looks at me and he goes, "Has anyone ever told you?" you know? And I was going, "I get that a lot. I get that a lot." So it's funny everywhere I go pretty much anymore it's that sort of thing, you know. I guess that's what got me into this business, I suppose, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting into it, it seems like not only do you have the looks down and you have the different eras down as well too. You have like currently like the Egypt Station McCartney 3 look going these days,
Yeah.
obviously, but
Yeah.
you have it all down. How much does it take for you to sit down and just like, does it come naturally to you? Do you really like watch the videos, listen to the music, watch the interviews, and really study it?
Well,
How
yeah, you know, it anymore now. It's a matter of I just try to do as if Paul were on stage, so, and in a lot of cases with an orchestra, because I'm doing a lot of the small symphony shows, and so I look at it as what would he do at this point? You know, because years ago I would do the Beatles. Hold on a second, I gotta turn off my phone.
yeah,
I
we
didn't
don't have to
realize. I didn't realize my phone was going to interfere with this. But anyway, what I was saying is, in the earlier days, I would worry about looking like Paul on Ed Sullivan, and
Yeah.
make sure I'm doing this and all that stuff. And it's an act. It's a role you play. So you got to think about it that way. But as the time would go on over the years, and that's been a big deal, that doing the Beatles shows for many, many years. And then about 2008, roughly, I started doing the Live and Let Die show, which is more of McCartney with a band. And then I started doing the symphony shows. So Paul McCartney would be with a symphony. And it's pretty much now, it's just a matter, I kind of pick the time of his life, which he was probably, in his late 50s, early 60s. He was doing everything he could think of in the Beatle world and in the McCartney world and all that stuff. So that's basically what I'm doing. It's a time in my life where I'm just portraying the man that we all know and love in the best way I can. You know.
So going way back, how did it all start for you? You were already a musician growing up. How did you discover that this was a great gig for you?
It was an amazing thing because I've always been a guitar player, singer. I was in a top 40 band, playing everything from Bad Company to Peter Frampton to the Stones. And then it was back then that I one day said, maybe I should try a McCartney song, just out of nowhere. And people would come up to me in the nightclub, and I was like 18 years old. And they'd come up to me and they'd say, when you did that McCartney song, you really looked like him up there. And I never thought of looking like someone. And I never thought of it that way. So it took someone to say it to me. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, and then after I did this one, it was Beware My Love, a Wings song. And we did that song in the bar band. And I get a phone call literally that week. Some guy gets on the phone, a guy named Cy Garayab, and he said, "Are you Tony Kishman?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "I understand that you can portray Paul McCartney." And I said, "I think you must have the wrong number." you know, what do I know about Paul McCartney? I just barely know his music. And they said, "Well, there's a show coming out. It's actually on Broadway called Beatlemania." and we're looking for people that can play the 4 different Beatles, and we really need you to audition. And I'm thinking to myself, whoa,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. I better go out and give it a shot. So I started rehearsing bass guitar, acoustic guitar, piano, whatever was in the show, Penny Lane, Can't Buy Me Love, Got to Get You Into My Life, Yesterday, all of these songs I had to know for the audition. So I went in there and I went to LA and I auditioned for the show.
I
And
remember Beatlemania,
it
yeah.
was an amazing time because it took several auditions to get the job.
Yeah, that must have been. What was it like the first night you went out there and just like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was a thing of when I finally, because I was rehearsing and rehearsing, and they brought in this massive mirror in front of the band.
oh,
So this is for the Beatles show, and Beatlemania went to all lengths to make sure that you could really, get the right tools to learn how to be a Beatle. It was like Beatle school. So we had a massive mirror in front of us, and I would play songs, not only learning the songs, but seeing what I'm doing. So if I was doing a Peter Frampton move, the director would say, "Hold it, stop. That's not what's on the video." See, so if you're doing All My Lovin', right, you got to be Paul doing All My Lovin'. So that's how we learned to be the Beatles. So from that point, I kind of learned from that and transformed into the later years of McCartney.
so how long did Beatlemania go for you?
It was the full run for me. I started was 78 is roughly the time I started, and I went till 83 is when it closed. So very short lived, but a lot of miles. Yeah,
Yeah. And you
that's
were able to
Broadway.
spin that into, really capturing the solo years and beyond. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah. So now it's after Beatlemania closed, I started doing shows like Legends in Concert and things, and I was doing a solo McCartney show, and I went to Hong Kong for the first time ever doing a Paul McCartney solo. And I went out, did silly love songs, and Got to Get You Into My Life, and it was amazing because in Hong Kong I thought they're not going to know these songs. They're not going to know what I'm doing. But the minute I would start, it would be like, you think that people would have and yesterday, you know, and you'd get that applause. And it was like, wow, this is cool. So it's been a long ride and it's been a lot of fun.
yeah, it's so universal. I mean, out of all the artists, it's like you can go anywhere at any of these
Yeah,
continents, and it's
it
just
is so amazing.
it really is. And I'm sure you feel that. I mean, not being an actual Beatle, but it's the next best
Yeah.
thing.
Well, the best part of it is that I want to perform music, and if I'm going to be stuck in a role, I'll be this one because this guy, Sir Paul, has written the greatest songs. I mean, they're so creative, like to go from Uncle Albert
Yeah.
to Live and Let Die, or in the Beatles world, Let It Be, and all these amazing compositions to think, that, and he still wants to keep going. It's like not enough. So
Yeah, it's so true.
it's
It's
a,
like, I'm not, I'm not a musician or anything, but he inspires me in just being a creative person. Because here he is, he's knocking on 80's door now,
yeah, yeah,
and he's still creating, and he could still perform, and he's writing, and it's like, what an inspiration. And so many of his peers just
yeah.
not nowhere near on that level. Has to be very inspirational to you.
It is, and it's funny. You see the guy. I've followed him obviously since I started doing Beatlemania, and I'm always wondering what's he gonna do next. What's he thinking? What's he doing? I like watching his interviews because he says the most amazing things about the songs. Like, where did you get the idea for whatever song? And you'd never think that this is what he was thinking. And he was telling the story about Obla D. And
Yeah.
he said, we was in the studio forever and they were hammering out Obladi. And the song was going well, but they didn't know how to start it. He didn't know, he needed an intro. And he was stumped, you know. And John Lennon wasn't in the studio. It was just George, Paul, and Ringo. So Paul said, when John showed up, he goes, okay, lads, what are we working on? You know? And Paul says, you know, we're doing that Obladi song. And so he goes, what key are we doing it in? And Paul goes, it's in D. So John sits at the piano and goes, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. And it was like, McCartney goes, that's it. That's it. So they complemented each other so well, you know.
It's great.
Mhm.
I once did a Beatles tour in London. I don't know if you've ever done anything like that. There was a guy who was doing it back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And when I did it, it was around the time of that 10-part Beatles special on ABC. It was around that point.
Yeah.
And it was just really neat going near the Apple offices, and you could really feel the vibe there.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I mean, I'm sure you've played in London and places like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
What's
I
that
did.
reception like in the UK when you go over to the original place?
Wow.
They must go wild.
You know, it was funny because now I'm remembering when we went to London, it was the Beatles, a Beatlemania show. And it was right at the time, I don't know if you remember back in whenever it was, there was a lawsuit going on. The Beatles lawyers were suing Beatlemania.
Uh,
Beatlemania got so popular that they were suing Beatlemania.
of
And
course.
I was in the show, innocent me, just, you know, Tony Kishman from Tucson shows up in London and the papers are all hands off Beatlemania and down with Beatlemania. Meanwhile, this theater is sold out for 9 months. So it was bad press is good business, as they say.
Yeah.
But I was there and I remember George Martin came to see us. And I was looking, we happened to be at the theater one day, we were rehearsing. And the drummer, in fact, our drummer, looks out and he goes, you know, I think that's George Martin in line buying tickets.
Oh
And
wow.
I'm thinking, why would he come see us? I mean, and so it was George Martin. And we went to the box office and went, who was that was buying tickets? And they said George Martin, G. Martin. It said on his credit card. He bought tickets, 4 tickets, his wife and kids, and one of those kids, knee high to a Les Paul, was Giles.
Oh wow.
So can you imagine back then, Giles Martin
Yeah.
was there watching me perform as a child. And so I met George Martin after the show,
Oh wow.
and he said, I just want to tell you it was a wonderful performance. And I said, my God, this is such an honor that you would come see us. What would make you come to see us? I mean, you produced the Beatles. And he goes, well, I did it more for my kids. He goes, they're into the Bay City Rollers. And I wanted them to see a little bit of what the Beatles would have been like, you know. And it was really effective because now Giles is a producer. And he just finished doing all those remixes of the Love Show and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, so it's kind of a neat thing to think that maybe I had a little bit of something to do with his son, you know, producing.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's got to lead to great things when you're doing something like
yeah.
this. Yeah, I could totally relate to that. Here is the Beatles produced. This is the brains, who made this happen.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Beatles, but yet he had to, because Beatles were long over by that point, and he had to
Right.
introduce his kids to the music, even though
Oh
he
yeah.
created that.
Yeah. He went out all out because he was saying, you know, they're into this terrible music, the Bay City Rollers, and and I'm going, okay, but then I guess, so by the way, Sir George Martin, is it true that Paul went into the studio and did the drums and the bass and the guitar and the keyboards for back in the USSR? And he loved to tell the stories.
Oh, I'm
Well,
sure.
yes, that day, in fact, that's when Paul came in early and he was blah, blah, blah. And he would tell us the story. of how that song happened. And he would tell, we asked him about who said, I've got blisters on my fingers, and, just anything that came to our mind. And he goes, one thing that I thought was really interesting on the drum solo, the drum thing in the beginning of All You Need Is Love, where it's that little
Yeah. Yeah.
bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, and there's a drum, what do they call it? A roll, a drum roll.
Phil, yeah. They,
And Ringo couldn't do it. And George Martin said, I want a drum roll for the beginning of the song. So he had to hire a studio drummer to come in and do that drum roll. And he said, the song was recorded. Ringo played the drums on it, but not the drum roll. So Ringo was really depressed over it. And for months, he worked on doing a drum roll. And he finally got it. And he went back and overdubbed Ringo doing the drum roll, and he erased the other drummer. So it's
oh,
interesting stories that George Martin told us in those few minutes backstage.
oh, there's so many great little nuggets
Oh
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah, there
Hmm.
was a time there when Paul wasn't touring at all throughout the 80s and all
Hmm.
that. I waited and waited and waited. It was a little too young for me to go see Wings Over America.
Right.
And it was just, this was such a mystery. And then finally in 1990, I finally got to see him live. And I saw him 3 times since. It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
what an amazing artist. It's
What a concert he puts on too. I mean, it's like the production is unbelievable.
oh
I've
yeah.
seen him 6 times. I saw him, the very first time was in London at the Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
And
The old Wembley and then
yeah, it was the
yeah.
Wembley, not the stadium, but the arena. It was like 20,000 seater. He was there 6 nights.
Oh
And I
god.
went there on the fourth night to see him in a row. I mean, and when I saw him come out on this, I kept saying, now I'm portraying this man in a show. I
Yeah.
got to know, what is it about him that is so special? Because I want to see for my own self. And when he
Oh,
walked out on the stage, before he even started a song, he got up on the mic and he did something like, "Ah, yeah." It was just a riff. And I went, holy, you know. And he sang "Got to Get You into my life," the first song, and he sang it like nobody's business. And I said, now I get it.
yeah. Yeah.
I get it.
I love that one as an opener, and he was doing that in the later Wings days, and
Yeah, yeah.
just so good. Somebody gave me the recording of the Last Flight show that was done in Scotland, and
Oh
I
yeah.
just love that lineup, the later
Oh,
Wings lineup,
oh yeah.
Brent
That was
Huber and those people,
sure, sure.
and
Yeah,
back to back.
killer band.
The catalog's huge and it keeps growing. How many songs do you know out of that catalog? Do you need a teleprompter as well? Can you
Oh
memorize?
no, I memorize everything we do.
Wow.
I don't use any song sheets or anything. I'd rather mess the song up at least once and go,
Yeah.
okay, now remember it. Okay. There was one time when I had to do a cheat sheet on the song Jet.
Yeah.
For some
Yeah.
reason, I
There.
couldn't get that second line. I thought that it was like, how do I remember this? So I had to put a cheat sheet, but I hated it because I don't want to look down and go, oh, there it is, and then look back up, and then you're off. So, but as far as the songs go, I picked out of the show. I would pretend that what would a customer, what would a guy in the audience, a girl, a couple out on the town seeing a show, what would they want to see Paul McCartney do in his life? And I know that they want to see Beatles songs, right? But they also want to see a lot of stuff that he did solo. So I would do a lot of Wings, stuff like that. My Love, and Live
Oh,
and Let Die, of course.
I think that's the same thing that he goes through when he goes out on the road. He wants to play some of the new stuff. That's got to be really tough. I know the audience goes a little bit more mellow on the new stuff.
Yeah.
still good. But how
Yeah.
does he's his own worst enemy, and now he's got to compete
I
against
know. I know. Well, we did do the song "Come On to Me." We did that one,
himself.
and that was fun because it came out and it was big. It's a big record, and so it was fun for us to do a new song by Paul McCartney. So that was cool. Yeah,
He's still incredibly catchy. He just still has it. It's really
yeah,
unbelievable. Going back to when you were growing up, so you taught yourself guitar and or did you learn how to read
yeah.
music and
I
all of
learned by ear. I did. Yeah, and it's funny because I played guitar in the show in the band Wishbone Ash. I also played bass in Wishbone Ash, but I was more of a guitar player, learning how to play Peter Frampton solos, and I liked playing solos by Andy Powell in Wishbone Ash. And it was more of a challenge to come on and do bass and piano. I mean, I was more of a guitarist, so I had to really woodshed to do this.
Yeah, that's how tough is that if you from one instrument to the other? I see this people who can go from piano to guitar. How are you able to translate that? Is it very difficult or
No,
how do you
you
do
know, it was at first. It was at first, but then after you learn songs, like if you're going to do it on piano, you learn it, you play it that way, and it's you don't think about the other instruments. You're only thinking about the one you're doing.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about McCartney, just being able to just do everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
First
It's
time that hit me is when I saw the Spies Like Us video. I was
oh
like,
yeah,
"You really do all that?" It's just like, there's Paul, it's like all over the
yeah.
place.
Or the coming up video. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Which was such a groundbreaker. I mean, watching the videos and
yeah.
seeing how this is, over 40 years ago and how they were able to pull those effects off of video.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's
But
incredible.
that's the thing. We do songs in the show that are popular. You know, you have to, because if you don't, you're saying what they say to you. Why didn't you play? Like you could do a 3 hour show and you'll still hear someone say, "How come you didn't play Michelle?" Or "Why didn't you do whatever song?" You know. And so you try to do as many as you can. That's the thing.
Yeah, and again, that's got to be the quandary he goes through when he's putting together a set list. He's got to
Yeah.
have there's staples. You can't do
Sure.
it out yesterday. Come on, it's
Right.
two
Right.
and a half minutes,
But
but
you know what's funny? I saw him in last right before COVID. I saw him in New Orleans, and he did not do yesterday.
wow,
He
whoa,
did not do yesterday. I was going. We left the place, and my wife and I go. Did you notice something about the show? And we were just still rolling because it
wow.
was so great. And I said two songs that I wanted to hear him do: Yesterday and Long and Winding Road. And
Huh.
he didn't do either one.
Wow.
Yeah.
To me,
So
that's really, really unusual. Even every time he's gone out, and he has toured more in recent years,
yeah,
it seemed like he always had to do yesterday or long and winding road.
yeah, those are
Even Hey
just
Jude.
beautiful. Yeah, well, Hey Judy does all the time, but and of course we do as well, you know.
Oh, you got to have the audience participation song. That's
Yeah, you gotta have that one, you know. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing the shows. It's good to get back on stage. Um, you know, it's been a long hiatus.
yeah. No, it's been 15 months or more for you throughout COVID.
Yeah, yeah. We did a show in Georgia in March. It was 12 months to the day
Oh,
that we hadn't done a show.
so I missed you. I'm in Atlanta. I
Oh
didn't.
yeah, we did a show in What was it? Waynesboro. You know where
There's the
Waynesboro?
Waycross. There's Swainsboro, Waycross.
Waynesboro.
Yeah.
Played Waynesboro. Yeah, it was a good show.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did see a Beatles tribute show. The Atlanta Symphony Orchestra did something with them a number
yeah.
of years back, which was just
Right.
I love it with the orchestra. So these days you are working with these orchestras. It
Yeah.
sounds incredible.
Now, the orchestra show you saw, you went to see the Atlantic Symphony?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't do that show, but that's the show that I do as a Beatle.
Yeah, I was
And
wondering about this. This was so many years ago, and it was
yeah,
just like a last minute fluke. I went to the show, and then they did dive into some Wing songs. Obviously, "Live and Let Die." You
yeah,
got the
yeah.
whole
That
orchestra.
that was me.
But they
So
like had the Beatles doing "Live and Let Die." Would they have ever done
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. And I've often wondered about that, and I would say to the guy that I'm working with in the show, we shouldn't be doing this song in this show. We have another show, we do that song. You know.
I
So
remember when they broke into that, and I had some real Beatles fanatics sitting around me, and they were like all shaking their heads. No, no, no,
no, no, no. Yeah,
sacrilegious here.
right.
But yeah, it sounds so good. I mean, the orchestra's really give it so much more of a dimension, as it would with any artist, but with Beatles songs,
Yeah.
it's like, mm,
I'm going to be doing a few more symphony shows. So
excellent, excellent. Yeah,
yeah,
so through COVID, so you just had that one performance here in Georgia. Did you do a lot of stuff online doing Facebook Lives and stuff like that?
not really. I did one. It was called Performance Tonight, and it showed my video of a concert we did, and it was really nice. But I didn't actually perform live, you know.
Yeah.
So
For so many, it's just not the same thing. It's
yeah, it doesn't make sense to me because it's got to be done live,
yeah,
you
absolutely. It
know.
does. It really does. It's so cool. But yeah, and you got the Hofner bass. That's
Oh
just
yeah.
I'm watching some of these videos and it's like here's your spitting image and yeah, that look is amazing. How
Some
did that
highlights. I like the highlights in the show with Band on the Run. It's a great song to do. Well, I love doing Let Me Roll It. That's
oh,
fun. Cool grooves and stuff.
love that one. Yeah. That's so smooth when they just
And we just put together Helen Wheels and we just did Junior's Farm. We've added those to the show.
yeah, those were those hits, and you don't really think about them as much. And Helen
Yeah,
Wheels didn't like wasn't on every there's so many greatest hits compilations.
yeah,
Uh that not as your biggest hits that you really know about, but you're like,
yeah,
oh yeah, I kind of remembered. Yeah, I remember Junior's Farm being on the radio.
yeah.
That's just
It was fun to play, you know. But yeah, it's something that will probably never die. You know, his music will live on, and I just love being a part of it.
oh yeah, absolutely. It really is. It's just so
Hmm.
fascinating. So you've met Sir George Martin. Anybody else from the Beatles camp, and including McCartney? Getting any close
Um,
to?
no, I missed meeting Paul many times. There were so many close calls,
Really?
but Sir George Martin was the main one. That was killer to meet him. I met Cynthia Lennon, which was fun. She came to see the show a couple of times. And I got some great stories from Tony Sheridan back in the day when he was, backed up by the Beatles. But, some Beatle people that were kind of there before, but, none of the four Beatles. I've never met any of the four.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just never know. You think back in the days of Beatlemania, but they were probably just so elusive at that time.
Yeah.
More so then.
Well, Paul doesn't really like imitators. He's like that.
Yeah, that could be understandable. It really can be.
Mhm.
But I think I would say, like this is just so inspirational and
Mhm.
and just seeing how you're really having fun with it and just getting down the entire personality. It's beyond just like the singing and hitting
Yeah.
notes right and everything like that. It's like you got the mannerisms. It's just really
Yeah. Well, I try to make him proud if he were to watch, and I know he has. I know he has. I know Neil Diamond came to see us,
oh
and
cool.
yeah, and he came backstage, and he said, "I said, I got to ask you something. How do you feel about someone imitating you? You know?" And he says, you know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all as long as they're good.
Yeah, yeah.
As
I
long
think
as
it
they're
is.
good. So
Yeah.
I thought to myself, what a great person. But he was really nice. He goes, A1 performance, A1 performance.
Yeah, seems like a really, really talented
He
guy.
was wonderful. He was
Yeah.
so wonderful. He goes, I learned something from watching you. And I said, you're Neil Diamond. What are you going to learn from me? You know? And he goes, I learned that I understand now why people want me to play my old songs. He goes, I could see it. I see it now. Because I wanted you to play the old McCartney songs. So I said, well, yeah. I mean, it's part of our lives. You know, people remember where they were when they heard Yesterday. I remember where I was when I first heard Get Back. I remember the day, you know, and it's that's why, you
Yeah.
know, it's our lives.
Yeah, it really touches people. It's incredibly personal. So,
Yeah.
growing up, when was the first time you heard the Beatles?
I was 8 years old and I was sitting on the floor of my grandmother's living room and I looked at the TV and she goes, what is this on coming on TV? And I hear Paul McCartney singing All My Lovin'. And I'm looking at the Beatles. I'm going, I was, what is this? And I was mesmerized. I was like in a trance. So from that day on, I thought, I want to be a musician. And that was it.
And for countless who had been there for the Ed Sullivan performance, how many people do you think the Beatles really inspired to go into music? I mean,
Probably all of them.
oh my gosh. I mean, so
I
many who
would
I
say
talked to, yeah, from that
mhm,
era. Mm,
every one of them,
yeah,
every Beatle, every great musician, you know, from Toto to Bad Company to Led Zeppelin. I mean, the Stones, everybody, they all tell stories, you know, about the Beatles. It was the Beatles that did this. It was the Beatles that did that, you know.
yeah,
So it's pretty amazing, and it's a challenge. It
yeah.
is.
So you knew since 8, so that had to be rough going through school and thinking, I got to get out of the school thing here. I really want to go into music. I mean, you had to be itching all those years, and finally you were old enough to get out.
Well, the in college, I was doing I was at the end of my college years, and I had to be in a band. I didn't
Yeah,
want to. I didn't need to finish college. I knew what I wanted, so I did leave college early, and I just jumped into a band.
yeah,
I was happy, and I have never done anything since.
yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
all
hard to
my
make a living at music, and you got to
all
be
my
all in.
life. Yeah, yeah. So I'm pretty happy about that. You know, and one day I say to myself, what am I going to do when I grow up? Hmm.
You know, you've done it well when you keep saying that. What am I going to do? I go. So, as far as like going out there on the road, how many rare songs are you pulling out? And there's some songs you do that probably Paul hasn't even done live. It's
Oh
there's
yeah. Well, I'm doing. Well, you know, it depends on the show we're doing because we do No More Lonely Nights. He doesn't do that one. We do Uncle Albert. He doesn't do that one.
yeah, I saw you.
We do Silly Love Songs, and he doesn't do that one. But there's a lot of songs that I've been bringing into the show just for a little bit and then leaving. Helen Wheels was one of them.
Yeah,
You try it out. You
yeah,
say, let's try it out. So I think it's that. You know, we did Put It There on the Flowers in the Dirt.
gotcha.
And, you know, just you try different ones. And that's the fun part of having this vehicle, this Paul McCartney vehicle. And we go, hey, what do you want to bring in? What do you want to bring onto the show this time? And the band can play anything. Um, we have Chris Holt on guitar. He plays with Don Henley. He's amazing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
Love that.
John Merjavi is the other guitarist. He's great. Brad Swinger on drums, and the guys are just great. So we play anything that he's written.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
You just pull it out. How much rehearsal do you really need to get out there
well
and do it?
if we pre-send a list, then we know what's going to be played, and there's no need to rehearse because everybody knows it. It's like modular, like you'll play this part, I'll play this part, and I'll sing it, and it works really well. We do a sound check.
Very cool. Very
Hmm.
cool. So in the going forward, do you have a tour lined up? Is it just like maybe one-off shows? Is it almost every?
Right now, we're doing one offs, and it's on the website, the Live and Let Die Show.com website. And we're dates are coming in, thank God, because a lot of them were canceled or rescheduled. And now we're finally getting back in July.
Mm,
That's July 16th in Salt Lake Draper. We're doing Draper Nights with a 12-piece orchestra.
nice.
Hmm.
You have to do much rehearsal with the orchestra? Do you just come
You
in and say,
do what you do is we have everything charted, and then they rehearse the day of. We run the show day of, and then we do the show. It's a good little system.
excellent. The reception must be just amazing. In places even, yeah, like Salt Lake, it's got to be
Yeah, it's going to be the Draper. It's called Draper Nights, and there's a large crowd that assembles. I hope it's that way when we go there.
yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, excellent. I really, really appreciated your time here. This was just a lot of fun. I
Hey,
love,
this has been great. Thank you for having me, and hopefully we'll see you at a show.
yeah, come to Atlanta. That's where I'm based out of.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
you never know. You never know. I know we're doing some shows at the end of the year in Florida, but you never know. We could route. There's a lot of
yeah.
routing. So,
Atlanta was one of the first places on the Beatles, I think it was their 64 tour. They
yeah,
got the sound right because when they were just at Shea Stadium, the sound, you could barely hear them because they were
yeah.
using the stadium speakers. There was a guy here in Atlanta, an audio expert who ran an audio store, and he said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I got a way better system than the one at the Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Let's hook these guys up." And they said from that date on, for the rest of that tour, they got the sound right. You could actually
Oh,
somewhat
wow.
hear them over the screaming girls.
Damn. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so amazing to think they
Yeah.
didn't have monitors. They
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
sang. Yeah. It's like, how do you do that? Yeah.
And just think they only had to do like those, what, they were 25-minute shows. Is that what they
Oh,
were
yeah.
doing?
That's it. And the song list was on the back of his guitar. We have a song list this long.
They had it easy when they were really young, but yeah, I think
Yeah,
they got burnt out too from
exactly. Yeah. Too amazing. No, but it's been a real pleasure talking to you, man. And like I said, I really hope you'll be at a show.
absolutely. Well, best of luck to you and keep on rocking and learning the new McCartney songs. Hopefully you hear some stuff off of McCartney 3.
Oh
Just
yeah, I got to find out. I got to find that song on there that we should do. You know, it's amazing. Is this man ever going to stop? I don't know, but I'm there to catch it. And I'm there to recreate it, whatever he's doing.
Yeah, what a genius. He was able to record that. It seems like he just did like everything because he also has a good technical mind as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. Well,
Tremendous.
best wishes to you all and take care and hope to
Okay,
see you
Rob.
very soon.
Thank you so much, and you have a good evening.
You too.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye bye.